The Heatles get a 111-101 upset victory as Joe Public took it in the shorts. Many people assuming that was free money. There's no way Miami can compete with Boston loading up on the Celtics. Well, obviously that did not happen here. And so that means the top-seeded Celtics, who had the greatest regular season in a very long time for that franchise, and some would say the greatest all-time regular season, depending on what you look at, they are now tied up. It's a best-of-5 series, and the Heat have home court advantage. Miami shot 53% from beyond the arc. It's like Moneyball MALLER. It's like how I shoot. But game one, they got blown out. Come back, win game two. The better story, though, is in the losing locker room. So Jaylen Brown, who is the Robin to Batman, that would be Jason Tatum in Boston. Jaylen Brown, afterwards, he said that the Celtics had guys they wanted shooting the ball for Miami. They just weren't hitting them, and that they had decent closeouts. Now, Joe Mazzulla said pretty much the same thing. That was the company line. That was the talking point. So let us discuss. Does the Jaylen Brown / Mazzulla explanation for the Celtics loss, does that work for you? So I've got Afterburners, Prosecutor, and Kentucky Derby. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a head-scratcher, which I would argue that game was a head-scratcher. Like, typically what happens in that sport is the better team wins, and yeah, the team that's the shorthanded team can hang around for 3 quarters. But then in the fourth quarter, the better team pulls away and wins the game. That obviously did not happen. But to answer the question, does the Jaylen Brown explanation with Joe Mazzulla, does that work for you? And no, I'm shaking my head no. Jaylen Brown's justification is dubious at best. The Celtic perimeter defense, I would compare it to the consistency of a Boston cream pie. During the broadcast, maybe I imagined this. I don't know. Maybe I did. I was watching. I was getting hemorrhoids sitting watching. The TNT broadcast, they highlighted some of the closeouts, and the hands were down. They weren't up. Now, as far as the coaching, we can argue, we can debate what percentage of this goes to coaching. I mean, say 30%. The C's were caught also just generally sniffing themselves. They expected this to be easy street. But what about let him play Joe Mazzulla, who went into this game, and he didn't take stupid pills. He took Doc Rivers pills. And it looked, watching it, like Mazzulla just expected this to be easy, like the players, and they had an analytical outline of how they wanted to play the Celtics. It wasn't working, and so he essentially just said, F it. I guess we're going to lose this game. That's it. I'm going to stubbornly continue my game plan. I'm not going to make any kind of in-game adjustments. That didn't work. Nerds didn't have the right game plan. It's over. And as far as the players who get more of it, a shame bell. I'm going to give the biggest shame bell to Jason Tatum. A lot of people picking on Kristaps Porzingis and some other players on the Celtics, but Jason Tatum is supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be that guy, and I've seen him be that guy. I have watched him be that guy. He was not that guy in this game. No, if you didn't see the game, you just read the box score. You're like, he wasn't bad. What are you talking about? You can't blame him. He had his normal stat line. He didn't shoot poorly. Let me elaborate for those of you a little slow. You might be on the spectrum. So Jason Tatum, this is the game you put on the old afterburners, and he couldn't find the afterburner. Couldn't find it. Fourth quarter. Now, Porzingis sucked at a time you cannot suck, and there were plenty of other people that stunk as well. But, man, Jason Tatum, even with all the three-point shots hitting nothing but net, you still had the opportunity to win that game. With Tatum makes a couple of plays in the hustle and bustle of the fourth quarter, you win the game. All right, now, moving to the next chapter. A beef in La La Land, finger-pointing in the kingdom of the purple and gold. Say it ain't so. So you might remember, we mentioned this in a previous episode of the show. It was after Game 2, if you can remember back to Game 2 in Denver. Anthony Davis claimed that the Lakers have stretches during these games where they don't know what they're doing on both ends of the floor. Like they have this mental fog that takes over. So, of course, Laker coach Darvinham was asked about that. He attempted to refute the Unibrows' claim. Of course he did, saying if things don't go right, the players get frustrated. Ham praised his coaching staff, and he said he would just chalk that up to frustration from losing the game. Talked about emotion and how the game ended. He said, I'll agree to disagree on that one. So you've got Darvinham disagreeing with Anthony Davis and Davis's belief that the Lakers don't know what they're doing for stretches of the game. Who's right? So nobody's right. Everyone loses. And let me explain why. All right? I'm going to get out my Venn diagram and explain exactly why. I'll get my telestrator as well. So here, it's a radio strator. So let me explain. All right? If the Lakers know what they're supposed to be doing, as Darvinham says, and they're not executing, that is on both the coaches and the players. The coaches unable to get them to execute, the players unwilling to execute. If they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, that's on the coaches. Either way, Darvinham is the fall guy for all of this. We were just asked in a question on MALLER to the Third Degree about Darvinham and his long-term viability as Laker coach, and my take then, and I haven't changed my take, is it is an outcome-determined result. The Lakers have not had a problem getting rid of coaches. Yeah, they had Phil Jackson for a while. He left for a year because he didn't like Kobe Bryant, and then he came back, and they had way back Pat Riley. But other than that, they usually go through a lot of coaches. That's not a long-term job they're coaching the Lakers. Ask Frank Vogel about that. But there's an old line in in judicial circles, and the line goes, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't work in that world, but a good prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, right? You might have heard that before, right? I mean, you can pretty much indict anything if you're a good prosecutor. You can find some vague law that somebody broke. But Darvinham, what I'm trying to say here, he's in the deep end. All right, last word. Quickly, we go to Wisconsin, where Bucks forward Bobby Portis addressed the trash talk from the Indiana basketball team. This following the Game 2 win by the Pacers. Now, Portis, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it was extra spicy. It was a spicy margarita. So Portis snapped. He said, quite frankly, they are front runners, bro. He sounds like Blake Snell. Front runners, bro. He said when the S, I didn't say the word, unlike our callers, when the poopy, going good, they laughing, Portis said. Clapping, all that. When it's going bad, they not saying nothing. I think there were some words missing. But Portis ranted and all that. All right, so where are you at on Bobby Portis essentially calling the Pacers? He did. Front runners. Not essentially. He said the word front runners. So here's my position. It is true, perhaps, but irrelevant. True, perhaps, but irrelevant. Because, spoiler alert, that is how sports work. Everyone is giggling and smiling and happy when they're winning, and when they're losing, they sulk. And if they don't sulk, we goof on them. That's how it works. That's why the mantra of this show, the better story, is in the losing locker room. The Bucks are a perfect example. If Milwaukee had won that game, does Bobby Portis call the other team front runners? Boo-hoo-hoo! Of course not. It's kind of like the Kentucky Derby or thoroughbred racing in general. If you've ever bet the ponies, they have done study after study. Front runners have the best winning percentage of any run style. There's like 4 different run styles in a thoroughbred race. The style that would be the opposite of front runners is the hold-up style, where you kind of save it. You kind of, it's kind of in the pack or in the back, and then you wait for the stretch run to close it out. In team sports, it's called sandbagging, where you just kind of hang around and then you let the other team think they're going to win, and then you knock them out at the end. But that's got the worst win rate in horse race anyway. But most of these games are like a Harvard boat race. You jump out ahead, you get a big lead. Every once in a blue moon, as Andrea, the astrology goddess, would say, the moon goddess. Every once in a while, a team comes back from 20 down. But that does not make it the norm. Most of the time, you go up by 20 or 25 points or 30 points, you win the game. And when you don't win the game, that becomes something that people go crazy over.